Alright, in this lesson I'm going to show you how to create the unit circle using special triangles. Now, special triangles is something that you took up at 20-1, and there are actually two kinds. The first kind was the 30, 60, 90 degree special triangle, and those are these two triangles up here. They are the same triangle but in a different orientation. And the last triangle was the 45, 45, 90 degree right angle triangle. Okay, so we're going to use these triangles to create the unit circle. First thing I want to do is actually define the quadrant angles. And the quadrant angles is where the unit circle intersects the x and the y axes. So there's actually a few points here. The first part starts at 0 degrees, and we want to define that point. So remember, on a unit circle, the radius is going to be 1 unit. So therefore, this point is 1, 0. Okay, so it's the x-intercept, in other words. The next point is going to be 90 degrees, and that point is going to be defined by the coordinate 0, 1. So that is the y-intercept, in other words there. The next point is 180 degrees, okay, and that's going to be defined by the point -1, 0. And it's negative because we are working with the negative side of the x-axis. So keep going here. We're looking at the next angle, which is 270. Okay, and that's going to be defined by the point 0, -1. So it is the negative side of the y-axis. If we're going to do a full rotation, we're going to end up at 360 degrees, and that's going to be defined again by the point 1, 0. Okay, so there are all my quadrant angles. So they're angles that are created by the unit circle intersecting the x and y axes. The next angle we're going to look at is the 30-degree one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 30-degree special triangle, and I'm going to superimpose it right on top of the unit circle. And I want to see, where does that right angle triangle intersect the unit circle? Well, it does exactly at one point, and it's right there. And let's say I wanted to find those coordinates. Well, I'm going to use the side lengths to do that. So the x-coordinate is defined by this side because it's along the x, so √3/2. And the next side is 1/2. So that's your y-coordinate. So that's your 30-degree angle coordinate, and any angle that has a reference angle of 30 degrees is going to be considered a special angle on this unit circle. And there are 3 more. So all these angles are special because they have a reference angle of 30 degrees. Okay, so notice the coordinates, that some of them are going to be negative or they're going to be both negative, and that all depends on what quadrant they lie in. Okay, so that's going to be the first set of special angles, and that's all made up from 30 degrees. Next angle we're going to take a look at is the 45-degree one. So I'm going to move that triangle over here, and we're going to superimpose this 45, 90-degree special angle. Okay, and we're gonna once again check, where does this triangle intersect the circle? And it does exactly at one point again, which is right there. Okay, and I want to define that point, and that point is once again going to come from your side lengths. And both my side lengths are equal, so my coordinates are going to be both equal. So 1/√2, 1/√2, and that makes up the special angle 45 degrees. So any angle on the unit circle that has a reference angle of 45 degrees is going to be considered a special angle. And in the full rotation, there are 3 more because there's 3 more quadrants here. So yeah, once again, all my coordinates are going to be either both positive or one's going to be negative. It all depends on which quadrant they lie in. So that is the 45-degree special angle. And the last one we're going to look at is the 60-degree angle. So if I take this triangle here and superpose it on top of the unit circle, I'm going to check, where does this triangle intersect the unit circle? And it does exactly at one point. And that point is right there. Okay, we want to define that coordinate. So use the side length. So the x length is equal to 1/2, and the y length is √3/2. Okay, and that's going to be 60 degrees. So much like the other special angles, any angle with a reference angle of 60 degrees is going to be considered a special angle on my unit circle. And there are 3 more because there are 3 more quadrants here. Okay, so that actually concludes all my special angles here on the unit circle. And it's quite simple. If you know your special triangles, you could definitely create the unit circle using that. So you could do the same thing with radians. So that's what the unit circle looks like with radian measure. And that concludes my lesson on how to create the unit circle using special triangles.